I was pregnant and I was going to have twins, but unfortunately during the birthing process I lost one of the babies. But don't worry, I still have the other one, and I'm going to raise that baby with all the love in my heart. So I wasn't really ready for a surprise of my life once my baby turned 5 years of age, and guys, this secret that I find out, it's absolutely devastating, and I'm going to share it with you. I know there's certain situations in life that can push people to do things they would not do on a normal day. But there are things that you can do that are just straight up unacceptable. Unforgivable even, no matter how genuine your reasoning possibly is. All this while, I thought my brother was on my side and innocently just believed that he loved like a brother would love his only sister. But recently I found out that my brother betrayed me and has been lying to me all these years. Before I go on to tell you the wrong and atrocious thing my younger brother John did to me, on purpose, I would love to take us all down memory lane. John and I grew up as orphans. When I was 7, he was 4, and our parents died in a ghastly car accident. I remember that night very vividly. You see, John and I were in the back seat of the car. Our parents were arguing about something after we returned from a Christmas family get-together. The argument got intense, and I don't know how my father lost control of the wheel. I remember my mother yelling at him to slow down, but he refused. The next thing I remember, it was a loud crash. Then John and I woke up to the hospital. Unfortunately, after my parents passed away in the accident, none of my maternal aunts agreed to take us in. My dad was an only child, and his parents had passed away when he was young, so John and I did not have anybody to fall back on his side of the family. By the time I was 8, John was 5, we both ended up in an orphanage home, and the expectation that a nice and cool family would adopt us and be the parents we always yearned for, well, I think it's fair to say that John and I have our own share of the good, bad, and ugly. The first parents that adopted John and me together were nothing close to our expectations. They treated us badly, would starve us most of the time, and occasionally feed us. The moment we stepped into that house, we literally became tiny servants and were assigned all the house chores. It was just horrible to know that you would either get starved or spanked if you did not behave well according to them, or do a great job with some house chores. Fortunately for us, John and I did not last in that house for long. After months of hell, we returned to the orphanage. The second time we were adopted by separate parents, and they still ended up being bad, terrible people. On my end, the maltreatment I got was so bad that I began to think something was wrong with me. I was a good kid, never spoke back, did all I was asked of, and I never underestimated my place in the family. But no matter what I did, things would always turn bad for me and I would end up returning to the orphanage. It was the same thing for John. The only difference between John and I was that John was a bit bolder and daring. When the maltreatment and physical abuse got to be too much, he learned to stand up for himself, and it was one of the reasons our first parents could not deal with us. Right from when John was 5 and I was 8, we moved from one foster home to the other until I turned 18 years of age. And that was when we decided that we've had enough. We've been through so much, and I can't describe it in words. We were tired of being at the mercy of cruel foster parents, so we decided it was time to go out into the real world on our own and see what life had in store for us. So, with the little savings that we gathered, John and I were able to rent a small, crappy apartment where we could keep our stuff and rest our heads. Thankfully, I was able to find a job as a bartender, while John worked in the clothing retail store. It was at my bartending job that I met a fellow bartender, Ray. See, Ray was an older bartender at the bar that we worked for, and he was the one who showed me the ropes, so when I got the job, he taught me everything. In my teenage years, I never had a boyfriend or had somebody else care for me except for my brother. So, when I met Ray and saw how he treated me and made me feel, I fell in love with him. I know it was kinda stupid to fall in love with a fellow bartender, but I wasn't exactly the smartest teenager. I don't know if Ray really liked me like he claimed he did, or maybe he was just using me, but we started dating shortly after I started working there. So 2 to 3 months later, he was my first official boyfriend. I was madly in love with him. Like every love-struck teenager, I believed Ray and I would last forever and even possibly get married in the future. But I was wrong. Because, well, of my dumb beliefs. I got careless and ended up being pregnant with Ray's child. When I told him about it, he said he didn't want the baby and that I should get rid of the child, or else I'd have to bear responsibility alone. His response and actions came as a bit of a surprise, and for a while I was so confused about what to do. After thinking about it for a bit, I decided that I would not terminate the pregnancy. I didn't even know that I was pregnant with twins. Somehow, a part of me believed that Ray would come around once he constantly saw me with the baby bump, but that never happened. Instead, he resigned from his job as a bartender, and I never saw him again. With Ray completely out of the picture, my pregnancy became my and John's responsibility. And it was not easy. I had to do 2 other odd jobs in addition to my bartending job just to take care of the bills and shop for baby stuff. Well, John did at least 4 different jobs in a week, and he was always burnt out. Most times, we would not see ourselves for days just because of our different job schedules, and through all of this inconvenience, he never complained. For 9 months, we kept working our butts off just so we could take care of rent, feed ourselves, save a part of it, and take care of other important stuff. My gosh, it was such a struggle. I know people believe that babies are God's blessing, but in those moments of our struggles, mine felt like a curse because we were in no way financially, mentally, or emotionally ready. Worse was, I was pregnant with twins, so we had to shop for 2 pairs each for most of the baby stuff. Later, like every other expecting mom, I believed that if I go into labor room, my delivery would be smooth, and I would be out in no time, but the unexpected happened. I had some serious complications, and what was supposed to be as fast little delivery for nearly 24 hours was delayed. Unfortunately, because of the complications, one of my twin girls did not make it, so I was told. By the time I was conscious and aware of what happened, I realized I had incurred an outrageous amount in hospital bills because of my complications and emergency operation they had to carry out. The amount was so much that even if John and I were to work for the rest of our lives, for the next 10 years even, we would still not pay up everything, especially not with what we earned weekly. When I learned about the bill, I was so worried because our savings could not even cover a quarter of it, and we had no other turn to for help. Not even the baby's father, but to my greatest surprise, John cleared the outrageous bill within less than 24 hours of him getting it. Since I was partially mourning my baby that passed, whom I didn't even get to see. When I asked John how he had gotten the money and where he had gotten the money from, he said that he did something illegal. That could, well, make me hate him forever if I ever found out the truth. I didn't press to know what it was, and I was only grateful that he had found a way to get me out of the mess that I got myself into. After that day, I kept thinking of the possible illegal things that he could have done, just to get that amount of money, but I never summoned the courage to ask him, because I knew that he did whatever he had to do, because of me. As the years passed, I forgot about my baby that passed. I focused more on what was, the one that was alive. I'll admit it wasn't easy to just forget about her. Often I imagined what life would be like with her in it, but I never dwelled or lived in my imagination. For my sake, I knew it was better to let sleeping dogs lie, and I never mentioned anything about her twin to Emily, my other daughter who survived that day. With John's constant support and sacrifices, I raised Emily and took good care of her. And John and I worked so hard to make sure that we gave her a life better than what we had when we were kids. Even though John has wronged me, he did a great job. And he was a great uncle to his niece. He literally treated Emily like his own child, and he was the father figure in her life. Emily grew up being so fond of her uncle that she adored him, and she would not go a whole week without seeing him. They looked so good together, would play together, host tea parties, play the games of tag, and so many other fun things together whenever John had the time to do it all. In fact, each time I watched both of them, it was always a huge relief for me, because I knew Emily had somebody to fall back on in case something happened to me. So, when I was pregnant with Emily and her sister, I always felt like I had made a huge mistake. But after she came into my life and added so much color to it, I realized that she was an angel and a blessing in disguise. Speaking of blessing, John's life and my life improved after Emily was born. I don't know if it had anything to do with Emily, but we became more serious about life and more responsible, and we would think things through before making any major decisions. Financially. We improved, and we were able to get better paying jobs even without college qualifications. Now, the main reason I'm sharing my story is because I just made a shocking discovery, and even as I write this, I'm still in shock and I'm badly hurt. I never would have believed that my own brother, whom I trusted with my life, would do something to hurt me like this. So, shortly after we celebrated Emily's 5th birthday, she returned from school one day and told me about a girl. A girl who had just been transferred to her school, and she looked just like her. She claimed that she had the same hair color too, but the only difference was that Emily had the tip and some strands of her hair dyed pink. See, the girl had some part of her hairs dyed purple. Whenever Emily would talk about the girl that looked like her, I would just laugh it off and tell her that many people look like one another, Honestly, I didn't even take her serious. I thought that she was just being childish for believing that she had a look-alike or a doppelganger in school. I just kept laughing at Emily's daily talk and description of her look-alike until one day she asked me, "Mommy, do I have a twin?" Well, immediately when she asked that question, I froze and did not even know what to say. To keep things in control, I asked her why she asked if she had a twin, and she said that her whole class and almost everybody in school was saying that her look-alike was her twin sister because they looked exactly the same and were even the same age. It was at that point that I began to take her more serious. She even told me that the teacher in her school, including her class teacher, were talking about the girl and it was drawing a lot of attention. For a 5-year-old, I knew she would not make up something so out of the blue. I was still worried while telling her, so I decided to go and see things for myself the next day. So, the next day, I went to Emily's school, but we went there a little bit early, just to wait so I could see the girl that she's been talking about. To my utmost surprise, I saw the exact carbon copy of Emily come out of the blue car, and oh my gosh, my jaw dropped to the floor. It was unbelievable, and I felt my mind was messing with me. I watched as the girl ran into school, and for minutes I stayed in my car, unsure of what to do or say. I just kept looking at Emily and the girl that I just saw. The girl was just as Emily described. She was the same height as Emily, the same hair color, the same eyes, the same nose, the same everything. She looked like me, and it all felt like a dream. Thank goodness I managed to comport myself because, well, I dropped Emily off and went back home. Believe me when I tell you that when I got home, I went straight to the bathroom and I washed my face several times with water just to be sure I wasn't dreaming or even, hallucinating, but everything turned out to be nothing more than reality. The minute I saw the girl, a part of me believed she was my daughter, but it didn't make any sense because my other daughter, she didn't make it. That's what I was told, so it just didn't make any sense, and for days, I thought about the possibility of Emily's schoolmates being Emily's sister. I couldn't even sleep a wink. I even thought of telling John about Emily's replica, but I knew how sensitive he always acted whenever the day of Emily's birth and the death of her sister was mentioned. So I kept that information to myself, but after brooding over it for a bit, I decided it's best to talk to the other girl's parents. Well, that's exactly what I did. I won't say that I stalked the other girl's parents in Emily's school, but I kind of waited for them till I got the opportunity to approach. And then I persuaded them to set up an appointment with me so we could talk about our daughters that looked exactly the same. At first, both parents were very skeptical about giving information about their daughters up, and they even claimed they didn't want any trouble. But after a lot of persuasion, they eventually agreed. Well, guys, to cut a long story short, 2 days ago I met with the family on our appointment day, and they told me all that they knew. They said they adopted their daughter from a young father on the day that she was born, which was exactly 5 years ago. Coincidentally, she was adopted on the same day Emily was born and from the same hospital. Then shortly after they adopted their daughter, they traveled out of town because the nature of the man's job demanded that they travel. When I heard all that they had said, it raised even more questions inside my brain, and I knew my next step was to visit the hospital that helped me with the delivery. Without wasting time, I hopped into a cab and hit the hospital. I told them why I was there. I told them I needed them to check their database from 5 years ago and confirm it truly was one of my twin daughters that passed away. When the hospital confirmed, I got some shocking news. Guys, none of my babies died that day. According to the doctor who helped me give birth to the girls, he claimed that both of my babies were sound and very much alive. I know at this point you're probably asking me, are you being serious? Well, yes, the answer is yes. I'm damn serious, and I could not believe all that I've heard either. It was my brother who comforted me and told me that one of my babies had died, as well as the nurse who attended to me, so it was all so confusing. That same day, I got permission from the parents of Emily's look-alike to conduct a DNA test, and the results came out as a match. In fact, they showed that they were sisters. Our sisters. I don't know, I was heartbroken. I cried like a child that day, and I could not believe that the same child I've been crying over and feeling guilty about, her supposed death, has been alive all this time. And I didn't know. I didn't even know what to do from here. I badly want to confront John because I know what he did. He lied to me about my daughter's death and gave up our daughter for adoption without my knowledge or permission. He defrauded me. I'm so pained right now, I really want to hurt him. I want him to pay for the pain that he's put me through, and I don't care why he did it. He has no right to do such a thing to me. He doesn't even know that I found out the truth. He's temporarily out of town, and I'm patiently waiting for his return. I just wanted to share this here on you guys can read it. Get your opinions down, because the more I think about it, the angrier I become. This has literally, turned my life upside down, and I don't even know where to go. I feel like I failed my daughter. I look forward to your suggestions and comments. I want to thank you guys. What's up, everybody? I have 3 updates for you, and let me just tell you right now, you might not expect what the brother has to say. If you guys are not subscribed to the channel, I would love for you to hit that subscribe button. It does support the channel a lot, and I appreciate it, guys. Here's your first update. Hello, guys. Thank you so much for your warm, kind words. They all mean so much to me, and they give me comfort. All of this still feels like a dream to me. I've lost count of the number of times I've had to pinch myself with the hopes that I'll wake up from the nightmare. It breaks my heart so much, and I can't even look at Emily in the eyes, knowing so well that I felt her as a sister. I mean, guys, how do you even go about explaining that to her? How do I explain to her that her uncle, the same one that she trusts so much, sold her twin sister at birth and absolutely destroyed all the chances of us being together? Many of you said I should go ahead and confront my brother. Well, the truth is, even if you all kicked against it, I would have still confronted him, and that's exactly what I went to do. Well, yesterday. See, John, he returned from his work trip, and as expected, he dropped by the house to see Emily and give her the chocolate that he promised to buy for her. When he came to my apartment, I asked Emily to go play with one of the neighborhood kids. I confronted John about my, quote, supposed daughter. The moment I brought up the topic, he began to act very, very, very uncomfortable, and I could literally see his eyes drop and there goes his jaw when he realized that I know the truth. In the process of the confronting of him and yelling at him, John started to cry. He begged for my forgiveness to show how serious he was. He even dropped to his knees. According to him, he said he never thought that he would do something like that. Give out one of my twin daughters for adoption without consent. But when the hospital bill got so large, he saw that hot mess that we were in. He was forced to make that heartbreaking decision. He admitted that he claimed to be the baby's father because it was his only way out, guys. It was his only way out. He also claimed that he loved his nieces so much, but he simply had to choose between the devil and the deep blue sea. As he cried his little crocodile tears and explained why he betrayed and destroyed my family, I could not think of anything else but how wicked and how cruel he was. He denied me the opportunity to get to know my own daughter, and he lied to my face that my baby had passed away. Well, not just that, the nurse who attended to me that day admitted that I had lost one of my twins, and that's the only reason I believed him. But guess what, guys? I found out she wasn't even a real nurse. John hired an actor, somebody to act like a nurse, so, I would buy the lie, and then he paid her off. By the time he was done crying and sobbing like a baby, all I saw was a monster. I couldn't stand the sight of him. I kicked him out of my apartment, and I threw out the box of chocolates that he's gotten for Emily. I mean, how could he do such a thing to me? I'm so confused right now, and I don't even know what to do. As it is, I cannot forgive him for this. I mean, what he did was totally unforgivable, if you ask me, and he deserves to be punished. I look forward to your comments and suggestions, but guys, I just need to ask you, how would you heal from this? I do look forward to your feedback. Oh my goodness, guys, Mr. Reddito here. So I smell a confrontation brewing. We're about to hop into the second update, and I just want to know your opinion down below. If you caught yourself in this web of lies spun by your brother, what would you do? Guys, here's the second update coming at you now. Hello, everyone. I didn't think I would make an update quite so soon. I made my last update just a week ago, and I was thinking I would take legal action against John before making the next update. Meanwhile, thank you, guys, for all your comments and suggestions. You all make me feel like I'm not alone, and I cannot thank you enough for that. So, after I confronted John about my, daughters, Emily and I traveled the next day to some place. It was meant to be our little vacation, and John was supposed to be a part of us, but I canceled him out of the plan after I found out the truth. So, throughout the time Emily and I were away, John would constantly just blow up my phone over and over with calls and just all sorts of text messages. Emily even asked why her uncle can't come with us. Well, I had to cook up a believable lie for a 5-year-old to believe. When we returned home yesterday, John came to the house in the evening, and guess what he wanted? He wanted to beg me for my forgiveness. At first, I didn't want to open the door to him, but I simply had to because of Emily. She didn't understand what was going on and did not want to drag her into her uncle's mess. So after Emily retreated to her room, I asked John to leave, and that's when he flipped. He began to yell at me and said that he did me a favor by selling one of the twins, and he was only trying to make my life less miserable. Then he blamed me for getting pregnant for a deadbeat father and putting all the responsibility and pressure on him. As if all that was not enough, John said that even if it was wrong of him to give up one of my daughters for adoption without my consent, he did not regret it because it lessened his responsibility of being a father figure, and it was only a way out of not working the next 10 years to clear the hospital bills. Honestly, if anybody had told me that John would say such a thing to me, I would not have believed it. I didn't even know when I began to throw things at him in anger. I was so mad that he showed me no remorse for what he's done. He didn't think of how life would turn out for his niece of all, and, well, if he sold her to a child trafficker. At that moment, all the love I ever had for him straight up vaporized into thin air, and I wanted to hurt him badly. Unfortunately, the yelling was too loud, and Emily came out of her room to see what the heck was going on. She caught me throwing anything in sight at her uncle, and, well, didn't even know why that he was there. Long story short, I sent John out of my apartment and warned him to never, ever set foot inside of this place again or come close to Emily in any sort of way. When John stepped out of the apartment, he actually refused to leave. He stood outside, creating an absolute scene in front of everybody, and he yelled at the top of his voice, called me an ungrateful, and just said that he should have left me to suffer on my own on that day. On the day I told him I was pregnant, he was so loud that he drew all of the neighbors, guys, and I was forced to call the police on him. Yeah, I didn't know what to do. Well, I'm so hurt. I can't believe John does not regret giving up one of his nieces for adoption despite all that we've been through at the hands of foster parents as children ourselves. Also, I never asked him to stay by my side if he wasn't comfortable with the pregnancy. He should have left and should not have hurt me the way that he did. Anyways, guys, thanks to everybody who commented. I will update you again. Update number 3. Hello, everyone. Well, I can't thank you all enough for all of your support. Comments and suggestions, you're right. John deserves to be punished, and that's why I got the law involved. After I made the last update, you all advised me to sue John in court, and I did. I wish you all would have seen the long drama that John displayed at the court the day he was served. He came back to my apartment despite the last warning. He yelled so loudly that neighbors came out, and he said that he could not believe I would sue him, my own brother, in court after everything he has done for me and all the sacrifices that he's made. When he said that, I came out of the apartment and told him that a real good brother could never do such a thing to his sister and that he was a criminal and all criminals deserve to be punished. When I called him a criminal, he burst into a loud laughter and charged towards me. While all of this happened, Emily was crying so badly because she did not understand why her mother and uncle were fighting outside the house. Unfortunately, when John charged at me, he strangled me for a minute before one of the neighbors stopped him. Immediately, one of the neighbors got him off me and he began to sob and he tried to walk close to Emily, but Emily shifted away from him in fear. The next thing he did was drop to his knees again in front of everybody and beg that we settle everything like brother and sister should. Wow. But I told him the only place that we could settle would be inside of a courtroom. And I slammed the door in his face, and even with that, he didn't really leave immediately. He stayed outside the house and just sobbed for a few minutes before he finally left. 3 days ago, we met inside the courtroom. And I think John already knew that the court would absolutely just rule in my favor. Well, he showed up anyways. But, give up another person's child for adoption? At the end of the day, the judge ruled that John was absolutely guilty, and as a result, he was sentenced to jail time. Well, you know what, guys? I'll admit. It really hurt me to see my only brother being taken away by the police to jail, but it had to be done like that. The funny thing is that he tried to make a scene after the judge passed judgment, but the police overpowered him. He just kept screaming, "I'm so disappointed in you! I should have known!" He acted so violent when the police took him away, and I think he deserved what he got. He separated me from my twin daughter, and now I'll have to spend the rest of my life hoping that her foster parents treat her well. Speaking of her foster parents, they've agreed for Emily and her sister to have a relationship, but I can't get involved in her sister's life as her bio mother because, well, she's not 18. I think that's fair, and you know what? I can live with that. Now, Emily and her sister are very, very good friends, and hopefully they'll love each other as sisters should. I don't know, on my end, I'm never seeing John again, and I mean never, and I've officially cut all ties with him. He's a devil. He's dead to me and Emily, but anyways, thank you guys for all your advice and suggestions. They actually brought me this far. So we realized that John would be convicted and sent to court. However, what we did not quite understand was how long he got sentenced for, which was not something that was added to the comment section or to the story at all. I wish we could have known because what John did was so disgusting. To take matters into your own hand and to give away somebody else's baby, I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous and it's downright wrong. I want to know your thoughts, guys, in the comment section down below. If you want to give a little advice, if you were in OP's position, what the heck would you tell OP? Guys, my name's Mr. Reddito. I narrate stories like this every day. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you want more daily stories, all you have to do is subscribe. I'll see you guys tomorrow, and of course, remember, It's cool to be kind. See ya.